was one of the early adopters of the Sage Stance technique, created by John English and Beth Goldstein. I have found it to be a valuable tool for reducing stress and optimizing my performance. I particularly found it helpful while running for a political office. While campaigning for office, my schedule can be extremely challenging. In addition to public appearances and speeches, I have to oversee the entire campaign with my campaign manager. Every day I'm making decisions and appearances that could determine the outcome of the race. I have used this Sage Stance on numerous occasions, and it works every time. But one time in particular stands out. My party was having a rally for all of the statewide candidates to meet with their supporters to officially kick off the general election. The venue was crowded and representatives from the press were there to cover the events for the major networks. I was scheduled for a certain time slot to give my prepared speech. One of the candidates was late to the event, so I was asked to go on earlier. The venue was dimly lit, so on the way to the podium, I shrugged and looked at my campaign manager and handed him my prepared speech because I knew I wouldn't be able to see it. I used the Sage Stance anchor, and I immediately felt the calm presence of my inner sage come over me. I gave an impassioned speech that was right on point. I was confident, clear, and full of passion about where I wanted to take this office for the people of my state. I didn't miss a beat. The next day, the press reported that my speech was the best of the evening. They said that I gave a rousing speech that rallied my supporters. Thank you, Beth and John, for such a wonderful technique, a tool that helps all of us do our best when it matters the most. I continue, to this day, to use the Sage Stance to access the wisdom and power of my inner sage. One final note for those of you who just started using the Sage Stance. The results are cumulative. The technique becomes more powerful each time you use it. So use it. You'll be glad you did. Bob's story is heartfelt because it illustrates exactly why Beth and I put together everything that makes up the Sage Stance. We want people to be able to achieve the optimum performance in stressful situations and all areas of their lives. The Sage Stance is the culmination of ancient wisdom derived from many traditions, and this is the first time that this information has been put together. That's what makes the Sage Stance so unique. By simply learning and using the Sage Stance, you'll have simultaneous access to 3 centering states: safety, unconditional love, and confidence. By going through our simple yet profound process, you will anchor all 3 of these states for instant, on-demand use throughout your day. Imagine your life if you had a tool, a way to consistently cut through the stress and anxiety of any moment and access your highest level of wisdom, and apply that wisdom with clarity in the moment. Well, you can. This is exactly what you will be able to do, and so much more, with the Sage Stance.
The Sage Stance, a gift to yourself. Before we go any further, we want you to begin to think about where and how you'd like to use the Sage Stance. So take a moment right now and consider where you experience stress in your life. In what areas do you feel stuck? Where does this tend to happen? With whom? Notice if there are any patterns as to where and when it shows up. Now, take a moment and write down the top 3 stressors in your life. The top 3 areas where you would like to have a tool to shift to move to a resourceful state. Be sure to make a note of it. In fact, we would like to suggest that you pause the audio now and write down those 3 stressors so you can refer to them later. Our promise to you is that by the end of this program, you will have moved to greatly reduce, if not eliminate, these 3 stressors from your life. Sound great? Now let's continue. Included in this program, you'll find the Sage Stance guided meditation, which consists of a unique combination, including ancient wisdom, Neuo-Linguistic Programming, and hypnosis. Now, we call it a guided meditation, but when people hear the word meditation, a number of different ideas come to mind. That's because there are many different types of meditation. So, we'd like to clarify that the Sage Stance is not just a meditation. It's a technique to shift